What's up, everybody? It is Brad Bodnarchuk here, your host on the Brad Bodnarchuk podcast, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in for a brand new episode. And today we're going to continue on what we started down the path of last week, which was relationships, love, loving, being loved, all of those things. And I was truly, what's the word? I guess I was taken aback by the response from last week's podcast. It actually took a lot for me to share what I shared, but I want to say thank you so much to everyone that reached out and said they enjoyed the podcast. They took something from the podcast. That to me is such a massive win when I can turn on the microphone, turn on the camera, and just share what's on my mind and share what's in my heart, and then have it be received by all of you guys. So thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And as I say every week on this podcast, if it wasn't for you guys, this podcast wouldn't exist. It'd be really tough for me to keep going every single week creating content if there was no one out there listening. But I do it for myself. But a byproduct of that is impacting you guys in some way, and hoping that the information that I'm offering is inspiring to you guys, or it's a call to action for you as well. And that's what I'm hoping this series that I'm now going to do, these next 3 podcasts strictly on relationships, will inspire you to take a look at your relationship and take a look at how you're showing up and take a look at how fulfilled you are, and then take a look at what are you doing in your relationship? Are you actually showing up, or are you sacrificing too much? Are you lacking boundaries? Whatever it may be. So this week, what I wanted to unpack was the idea of loving someone how they want to or need to be loved, as opposed to loving someone how you want to love them. Now, I'm a big believer that in life, there needs to be growth. Every day, really, there needs to be some form of growth that we experience as humans. And one of the toughest, most challenging things that we can do, especially when we're in a relationship, is grow to learn and then execute on how our partner needs to be loved. This is an evolving thing, but how easy would it be not to grow and just love them how we want to be loved? So I'll break it down to more kind of like fundamental terms. So I myself am very much a passionate, heart on my sleeve. I'm a touchy-feely guy. I love to be close. And that is how I want to be loved. That works for me. Those are like my love languages, if you will. Whereas my partner is almost the opposite of that. But how easy would it be for me to just revert to the way I want to be loved? Meaning, how easy would it be for me just to smother her hugs and kisses and constantly be telling her that I love you and doing all the things that I really want to be done to me? But that is the opposite of what needs to be done, because we're not actually filling up that person's bucket. We're not fulfilling them at all. What we're doing is just fulfilling our needs and reaffirming our needs. But really what we need to do is take stock on where are they at in their life, because this is going to change. This will fluctuate. But taking stock on how your partner needs to be or wants to be loved. And that the only way that can exist, the only way you can have that knowledge is through conversation, is through communication. Now, if you're in a new relationship, there's this unique dynamic in new relationships. When I say new, I mean like first 3 months, 90 days or less. And when you're in that relationship, there's this unique dynamic where there's these masculine and feminine energies, and both parties have them. Both the male has feminine energy and the female has masculine energy, and vice versa. But what's happening in those first 90 days, at least this is my theory, is there is so much passion and interest and intrigue and newness that it is just an uninhibited, genuine love that is connecting two people. And once that fades, which it will, because it's like getting a new hoodie. Like the first day, it's amazing, but then 5 months later, like, it's just another hoodie. But how do we deepen that connection is through conversation. And through conversation, we need to be learning how that person needs to be loved. So after those 90 days, again, that's just a number I grabbed, but after those 90 days of just like uninhibited passion and interest and intrigue, we need to stay intrigued. We need to create passion. We need to work to better understand our partner. We can't rely on just the fact that it's new, because it's no longer new. We've now maybe seen them at their best and seen them at their worst. And at this point, you've obviously made a decision to invest more time and energy into this person. But what I'm suggesting that you do, if you want to have a more fulfilled, serving relationship, is ask your partner, whether it's once a week, once a month, once a quarter, or once a year. I would recommend more than once a year, asking them, hey, where are we at in regards to how I'm showing up for you? Am I loving you the way that you need to be loved? Again, like I said off the top, it is so easy for us to fall into the style of love that we want to be loved by. But that to me is like sitting on the sofa and watching Netflix 7 nights a week. It's easy, and there's no growth there. The growth comes from getting up off the sofa and going for a run, or the growth comes from turning the TV off and reading a nonfiction book, or the growth comes from getting off the sofa and writing. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade at Netflix or sitting on the sofa, but that for me, again, is the antithesis of growth. Growth is really getting out of your comfort zone. So for me, it's so easy, again, to love how I want to love. It's so easy for me to want to kiss and hug and be affectionate and do those things. But for me to actually grow as a man and as a partner, I need to learn what is going to fulfill my partner. And I will tell you that as amazing as it is to love someone how you want to be loved, it feels so good. It actually isn't serving, meaning it's not serving them. And I always think of, now we're lucky enough to have kids, 2 healthy kids. And I always think of like their birthdays, or we have Christmas coming up soon. And I always think of how exciting it is, or how exciting it's going to be when we get to give them a gift. And this is anyone, like cook someone a meal, send someone a love letter, call someone, like just doing that gesture. How does that make you feel? And really what you're doing is you're serving other people. You're putting your needs at that moment behind others. And that is such a serving thing. And I'm a firm believer that we actually are all put here to serve other people. So when we love someone how they want to be loved, we are truly at the service of that person. And it's a hill that I'm willing to die on, is the more you can do that, the more you actually will find the style of love that you want coming back at you. But if you are stuck, and if you are unmotivated, and if you are the version of Netflix and sofa time in your relationship, it will come back to haunt you in a disconnect, or in the relationship having the bottom falling out, or just a misalignment. And I always think about relationships that I had in the past and why they succeeded or why they didn't. And obviously they didn't succeed, meaning I'm not still in those relationships, but I learned so much about myself as I look back on those relationships, comparing it to my relationship now and other relationships, not even intimate relationships, but friendships as well, and relationships with people like my parents or my brothers and sister. I look at relationships and I look at this idea of loving someone how they need to be loved, as opposed to loving them how we want to love. It's like a tree. So relationships are like a tree. Stay with me here. So a relationship that I have right now with my partner is like an oak tree. And for 4 years, roughly 4.5 years, we've been building this oak tree together. Now, at times, it gets windy, it rains, it gets cold, some branches snap off, the whole tree will shake, but it doesn't come down. And why doesn't it come down is because we have formed solid roots of that tree. So our relationship has within it work that we've put in. So there's an understanding that we need to put in work for this to work. And that work has created these strong roots of that tree. Now, I've had relationships before, and if we're calling those relationships trees, they're probably too young to even withstand, a windstorm or a frost, and they would just break at the smallest or most insignificant of issues. Whereas now, in the relationship that I'm in now, because we are aligned, because we have put in the work, because we have had tough conversations, still having to have more, but because we have had tough conversations, we have built this strong, call it a foundation. You hear that a lot with relationships, a strong foundation. But I always envision, when I'm thinking about the relationship that I want to build a strong tree. And that tree has incredible roots, and it is almost impossible to shake it. But like I said, will leaves fall off? Yes. Will branches snap? Yes. Can you take a night and have Netflix and sit on the sofa and do nothing and not have any growth? Sure, if you need to, that's fine. But what I'm really suggesting for us to have successful relationships, and what I mean by successful is fulfilled, and what I mean by fulfilled is actually serving other people. So to have that, you need to do just that. Serve others how they want to be served. If I came to your house and had dietary restrictions and you were serving me a meal, I would bet that you would accommodate. So in our relationships, why are we not willing to accommodate our partners and how they want to be loved? So I encourage you to take stock of where you're at in your relationship. Ask your partner, how am I showing up for you? Am I loving you how you want to be loved? Or do you feel like I'm loving you just how I want to be loved? And then also, if you don't even know how your partner wants to be loved, do some research there as well. And also share how you want to be loved. Be authentic. Be real with your partner and say, look, like, I actually really value some more space and more time. That's what I need. I don't need love and affection and gifts and time. What I need is some space. And if that's what you need, that's totally okay. And to that point, before I sign off, it is key to set boundaries. While we want to serve other people, we don't want to sacrifice so much of ourselves that we lose ourselves within our relationship or in our career or in our friendships or life in general. We don't want to sacrifice so much of who we are as humans as we experience this life that we lose who we are. So you have to set boundaries, but first and foremost, work to serve your partner. Then once you work to serve your partner, you can start taking stock of, how is this working for me? Am I fulfilled? Am I getting out of this what I want to be getting? And that's also another slippery slope, is we don't give to get. We give, just like the law of reciprocity, we give with no intention of getting back. But what happens is we end up getting it back. So taking stock, understanding that we are here to serve other people, especially in our relationships, but also being very clear on setting boundaries for yourself when they need to be set. What is acceptable and what is unacceptable. If you feel like you are investing 100% in your relationship and you feel like your partner isn't showing up 100%, have that conversation. Be real with them and let them know. Be super authentic and let them know, like, hey, I feel like I've done a lot in this relationship to show up for you how you need me to show up, and I don't feel like that's being reciprocated. Can you help me understand what the issue might be? And maybe they just don't even know how you want to be loved. Maybe they don't even know what you need. Maybe you haven't taken that time ever before to discuss that with them. That's also very key, is we need to be able to convey to our partners what we need and want out of a relationship. If we can't do that, it's unfair to expect anyone to know what that is. So as I sign off, guys, the key for any relationship, part of me, to be successful, to be fulfilling, to be in alignment with your ultimate vision is you must serve others. You must love your partner how they want to be loved first, and then encourage that relationship, the relationship where you love each other in the ways that's unique to the other person, not the way that you want to be loved. Do that, and you'll experience an amazing, fulfilled relationships that will inspire you to keep doing it and inspire others around you to maybe change their course. So take stock, ask questions, dig deep with your partner, and see what that does and see how you're showing up, and be honest and say, I want to know how I'm showing up for you and how I can better serve you in this relationship. The more we serve, the better it feels, the better we feel, the better we show up. It's a simple equation. Thank you guys for tuning in as you do week after week. I appreciate you. Again, the next 2 episodes that are going to drop are going to be strictly relationship based. We're going to keep going with this theme. I encourage you guys to stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions in regards to relationships, hit me up. Am I an expert? No. Have I been in my fair share of relationships? Yes. And I'm more than happy to help you kind of punch through the bag that is relationships. They can be challenging at times, very challenging. But I encourage you guys, keep growing, push yourselves every day, have tough conversations, be good to each other, work ridiculously hard, and we'll see you next week for a brand new episode. Peace.